Welcome and welcome back, everybody, to the OK Grognard Show. It is Thursday, June 3rd, 2021, 10 a.m. Central, in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. So we're continuing. I think we got this one and one more, maybe a third. We might want to devote an entire one just to illusions, illusionary magic, and dealing with that in game. It bears a lot of discussion because it's awkward in games where people are certain types of games like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition. Maybe not so much in games where people are completely playing their character off the stats on their sheet and they roll for everything and either roll and get it or you roll and don't. When you're playing a game where you can talk your way around problems and you don't have to rely on your character sheet and the stats and rolling against numbers all the time, then a game with illusions requires players, even if they suspect something or know something but their character doesn't, to spend some amount of energy avoiding metagaming situations, which is it's tough to do. It's tricky for me, especially as a DM. When I play as a at a table as a player, as a PC, when I'm at someone else's DMing event, then without a doubt, I am constantly at odds with what does my character know, what does he not know, what type of character is he, would he have this knowledge, how do you not use it if you don't have it, especially if it's something that if you were DMing, you might say, well, this is pretty obvious for any character of a certain level, so, well, other DMs might say, you don't know that, you haven't learned it in game, so your character doesn't know it, period. But I'm a big believer in the fact that PCs are not in the sum of all their knowledge is not what happens at the table because the player doesn't spend 24/7 and from birth in the skin of their characters. So I think it's unfair to say it that way. In any event, that's a digression. We'll get into illusionary magic in its own thing later on. At this point, we're currently dealing with magic user spells still, and this is third level. There you go, third level spells. Yeah, we can actually keep that on there and get through this whole column. I think there's a couple more pages in the DMG of this, and of the 9 pages of this very large section relative to other sections, this is a bigger a bigger one in the magic user section, obviously very big within this section. So here we go. We'll just keep moving on this, huh? Third level spells, Dispel Magic. For the effects of this spell on a magic item, see the cleric spell of the same name. And since we went over that, we won't go over it again, but enough to say that there are percentages that need to be rolled, and there's some clarification about how it functions after it does take effect, if in fact it does take effect. Feigned Death. For the rate of air consumption and effects on poisoning, see the cleric spell of the same name. Once again, if you want to use Feigned Death as a pseudo slow poison, it is possible. Check your durations as usual. Gust of Wind. This spell is particularly useful against such spells as Obscurement, Stinking Cloud, and Cloud Kill. Just in case that wasn't clear enough from the description of those spells individually, they like to throw that in here to make sure that and maybe they weren't even thinking of these when they originally wrote those spells, that over the couple of years that they were playing with those spells before the DMG was finalized, they said, we should throw this in. It's come up a few times in game. People have asked, Let's make it more explicit. Lightning bolt. Note that physical damage is not exceptional, so that if a solid wall is struck, the bolt effectively rebounds its full remaining distance. There's no absorption by a stone wall of a lightning bolt. It bounces back, and if it has 100 feet of lightning bolt and it hits a stone wall at 50 feet, it's coming back 50. If it strikes a barrier which is shattered, broken through by the force of the stroke, then the bolt continues beyond. So, you don't just blast a surface and it ends the length of the bolt, whether it breaks that wall and continues beyond or bounces back off of it. Monster Summoning 1. For a list of monsters summoned, see Appendix M, Summoned Monsters. We went over that when we went going through all the appendices. Phantasmal Force. The magic user must know of and understand the force creature he or she is making an illusion of. Thus, if the caster has never cast a fireball or has never seen a dragon turtle, his illusion of such will be very poor. And you can imagine how funny that might be. Protection from Evil, 10-foot radius. My guys used this in a game on Tuesday, a couple nights ago, when we were finally getting back to the game table for our first edition game. And this is not a total reigniting of the campaign that we're playing. This is was meant to be just a one-shot for a friend Mike who's heading out of town pretty soon. Kind of give him a send-off. But there was enough material to play through. We're gonna play another game of it, and then some of them expressed an interest in kicking it off again. I've got another campaign that was kicking off, starting up when I started collecting players for it. So I might be running 2 games, maybe the other one once every other week, and then this one probably once a month. If it does continue, we'll see. We'll see how it goes after next week. We're trying to finish it up on Tuesday, or at least the adventure they're in. Protection from Evil, 10-foot radius. As heretofore noted, the spell prevents use of body weaponry by affected creatures. That is to say, they can't hit you with physical claws and bites, right? So, can they stick a spear in you? Well, according to these rules, body weaponry is what it cannot hit you with. So there you go, right? Let me check something else here real quick. Maybe I can also... This is one spell because it just came up that I think it's worth popping over. So Protection from Evil, 10-foot radius is a magic user spell. Is almost invariably going to say, see the spell by the same name. 3rd level. There are a lot of 4th level spells. Well, that is to say, there are a lot of explanation text for 4th level spells. So the 4th level or 3rd level magic user Protection from Evil spell does indeed say this spell returns works the same as a 1st level Protection from Evil spell, except with respect to its area of effect. So easy enough. And of course, when we get to the 1st level Protection from Evil, it will invariably refer to, with the differences shown above, which is range is touch, 2 rounds per level for duration, creature touched, but we're talking 10-foot radius, and the segments for the casting time. Spell differences shown above in requirement of powdered iron and silver as the material components. For tracing the magic circle for Protection of Evil, the spell is the same as the first level cleric. Protection from evil. And we knew that was coming. But, you know, I didn't watch it when it was on first time around, but I started catching up with it, binging over the period of the pandemic, and I have to say there are some neat things in the show Supernatural in regard to the use of protections from evil and the like. Um, let's pop this back on for a second here. So, in the player's handbook was first level clerical spell, but except for duration and the area of effect and that sort of thing, it's going to be the same. When this spell is cast, it acts as if it were a magical armor upon the recipient. The protection encircles the recipient at 1 foot distance, thus preventing bodily contact by creatures of an enchanted or conjured nature, such as aerial servants, demons, devils, jinn, ifrit, elemental imps, invisible stalkers, night hags, quasits, salamanders, water weirds, windwalkers, and zorns. Summoned animals or monsters are similarly hedged from the protection. Furthermore, any and all attacks launched by evil creatures incur a penalty of -2 from the dice rolls to hit and are protected to hit the protected creature, and any saving throws by such attacks are made at +2 to the protected creature's dice. This spell can be reversed to become protection for good, although it still keeps out enchanted evil creatures as well. To complete this spell, the cleric must trace a 3-foot diameter circle upon the floor. This is for the first level version, with holy water and protection from evil, with blood for protection from good, or in the air using burning incense or smoldering dung with respect to evil and good. Point is, it's +2. It's -2 to hit from evil creatures attacking you. In this case, they were up against some wights, so lawful evil undead creatures. Well, it doesn't keep them out. It does give them -2 to hit, and if there had been a saving throw, they would have had one against those level drains, which can be nasty. Pop it back over to here, because now we're moving into the 4th level spells. How are we doing on time? We're fine, 13 minutes in. And we are looking at Charm Monster. It is needful to point out that this spell does not suddenly empower the caster or his or her associated characters with any special means of communication. If the caster is unable to convey to the charmed creatures his or her instructions, then the monster will simply refrain from harming the spellcaster, and others in the area, if any, will still be subject to its attention, hostile or otherwise. Similar to a charm person spell, if damage is inflicted on the charmee at the same round as the spell is cast, then the saving throw is made at +1 for each point of damage so inflicted. And we were going over that with the charm person spell earlier, just the last video, I believe. Dig. The spell will inflict 5 to 20 hit points of damage if cast upon a clay golem. I'd kind of like to say that extending that to earth elementals, probably fair enough, right? Extension 1. This spell must be cast after the spell to be extended, whether by another spell user during the same round, or the initial spellcaster, or another immediately preceding the casting of the extension. If a round elapses, the extension goes for naught. So if you cast a protection from evil 10-foot radius and you're going to be at it for a while with some undead and want them to all have -2 to hit for that long a time and get some saving throws, maybe it's against paralyzation from some lower level undead, then you can extend it by this means. If you want to extend, say, a Lehman's Tiny Hut so you can stay in it longer, rope trick, something like that, you could do that as well. Simple spells that expire. Although I dare say there are often 4th level spells, if you're using Unearthed Arcana as well, that tend to make extension an unnecessary thing. But if you're just using the core rules, you can get a lot of use out of extension. But burning a 4th level spell to extend the duration of a 1st level spell might be super handy sometimes. Fire Trap. A Dispel magic has the possibility stated to remove the fire trap. If it fails to do so, the trap is not affected and is not triggered. Important point there that they wanted to get across. Minor Globe of Invulnerability. This globe gives off a faint shimmering when it forms. 3rd level spells from devices, fireballs, or lightning, for example, will not penetrate its sphere. So like the stone wall we talked about earlier, a lightning bolt will bounce back off of a minor globe of invulnerability and continue on its path, geometrically speaking, in like fashion. Angle on, angle off. Monster Summoning 2. For a list of monsters summoned, see Appendix M, Summon Monsters. Polymorph Others. As is continually pointed out, has come up a few times for Gary. He doesn't throw things like that in unless he's exasperated, right? Henchmen and hirelings will not, capitals N-O-T, desire. Henchmen and hirelings will not desire to be subjected to the effects of this spell. So, will Samwise Gamgee mind being turned into a butterfly to hide him from, or to turn into a squirrel so that he can get up a tree and go get something? No. No, Mr. Frodo. I would prefer not to be turned into anything unnatural or natural. Furthermore, level of experience is not part of the character's form, so it is quite foolish and totally impossible to attempt to polymorph a creature into an nth level character. Likewise, profession is not form. So turning you into a human is one thing, but that doesn't turn you into a blacksmith just because I make you look like one. So attempting to polymorph to a fighter, thief, etc. results in human form and nothing more. Shape changers, lycanthropes, deities, druids, vampires, certain dragons, jackal-wares, doppelgangers, mimics, et al. will not be affected will be affected for but one round, then will return to their former form. So because they can inherently change their own form anyway, even if you change them into something, rather than the duration of the spell mattering for this case, they could just change right back themselves, either into the form that they were in, or the form that they are naturally in, so on and so forth. Rary's Mnemonic Enhancer. When this is used to gain additional lower level spells, the magic user must then memorize the spells and equip himself or herself with the requisite components. There you go. So you still have to add them to your daily list of spells to cast. Wizard Eye. The ocular device magically formed has substance and it has form which might be detected. Solid objects prevent the passage of a wizard eye, although it can pass through a space no larger than a small mouse hole, about a half-inch diameter. There you go. What else we got here? 5th level spells. Animate Dead. See the cleric spell, the same name for detailed commentary. Cloud Kill. The caster is able to cast this spell so it forms around him or her if this is desired. However, any creature staying within the cloud for more than a round, even though they have 7 or more hit dice / levels, will take 1 to 10 hit points of damage on the second and each succeeding round. Conjure Elemental. See the cleric spell, Aerial Servant, for details of protective inscriptions. Contact other plane. See the section on Insanity. That's a whole kettle of fish I'm not sure we'll go into at that time. Mental illness was less understood. It's not greatly understood now. In the days when this was written, and to say that it is, in some cases, ill-informed and sadly often used in-game for comic effect rather than for the serious debilitating conditions that exist often in mental illness, is to understate the situation, and that goes across the board in all forms of media and everything. So there's some subjects I tend to just stay away from in game. So know your audience, know who's at the table, know who may be around if you're in a public space, and decide whether or not you potentially want something like a bad impression of someone with a mental illness to be part of your legacy. So think about it. Extension 2, see Extension 1 above. Leomund's Secret Chest. Good morning, George. Good to see you. Thanks for popping in the chat. Leomund's Secret Chest. For a list of random creatures which might come from the ethereal plane, see Appendix C. Random monster encounters. There you go. Monster Summoning 3. Again, it refers to Appendix M. Summoned monsters. Transmute rock to mud. For commentary, see the druid spell of the same name. We're going to see a lot of this now that we're in the magic user spells. Wall of Force. A rod of cancellation or a sphere of annihilation will bring down the Wall of Force. The former being used fully in the process, so it gets used up, and the latter drawing any and all small objects into its vortex in the process. Small objects are those weighing less than 100 gold pieces, 10 pounds, and within 10 foot radius of the sphere. The diamond dust for the spell must be the equivalent of the stone stones of not less than 10,000 gold piece value. So Wall of Force, not an inexpensive spell to cast. Wall of Iron. If the Wall of Iron is created vertically, there is a 50% chance either way for its falling left or right, ahead or backwards, depending on its placement. It would take not less than 30 strength points with at least 400 pounds mass to affect this probability, and then only 1% for each pound over 300 or strength point over 30. So, if the caster concentrates specifically, it is possible to double the area by having the thickness. Having. To my cutting in half the thickness, you can make it double in area. So they're saying if you put up a obelisk-like wall of iron, then it could be knocked over, but it obviously is going to take a lot of strength and mass to get it to slam down. Wall of Stone. Any use of the wall as a bridge must be arched and buttressed. This will require 50% of the total volume of the wall, so a 20th level magic user normally may create a 400 square feet in surface area 5 foot thick. To use it as a bridge, only 200 square feet can be considered. So a span 5 foot wide and 40 feet long could be made, assuming the chasm to be bridged was about 38 feet wide or less, obviously. Unsupported spans will automatically collapse of their own weight if over 20 feet across. So there you go. You can't just put down a slab of stone and expect it not to succumb to its own weight if it's hanging over a chasm. 6 level spells. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to leave it at that because we are just about out of time and I don't want to go over. George, thank you. Sarah, I saw you lurking in the chat, so I'll just say hi to you so you know I know you're there. Your hands are probably busy, so you can't type right now, but thanks for listening. And thanks to everybody. Oh, there you are. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks to everybody who follows the show. If you're catching up with it on Twitch sometime, please do, by all means, follow the Twitch channel and chime in on the chat so that you can join in the conversation. If you are catching up with this on YouTube, where we archive the show right after we record it on Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Central on Twitch, then by all means, give us a thumbs up on any videos you like and enjoy, and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Click that little bell so you get updates when we upload new videos, and feel free to leave comments. You have some constructive criticism, or you want to just join in the conversation, or whatever. Say something about the show, or let us know something about yourself. If you're a first edition player, or you play a retro clone and play some old school gaming in the style of first edition, by all means, let us know about that. We appreciate it. Anyway, once again, thank you very much. This has been the OK Grognard Show. This has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.